I don't want to put words in their mouth. So for those of you who don't know, yesterday at about 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in Ukraine, in the Kiev area, I'm in the Kiev area, I won't say exactly where for security reasons. I was streaming, I was about to start a segment on Republican politicians openly talking about a military intervention in Mexico, sometimes even a unilateral military intervention in Mexico without the Mexican government's approval, which of course would be met with great outrage by the Mexican government. It's already been stated by the Mexican government. It would be a gigantic outrage, and I wanted to express my opinion about why I thought it was bad. While I was about to start that segment, or was starting that segment, I started to hear a sound. And at first I didn't know exactly what it was, but then as it got closer, I could tell it was an engine of some sort. But a missile and a jet sounds very similar. But as it got closer and closer, and I've heard a lot of Ukrainian military jets, the only jets that are in the sky in this country right now, the only aircraft that are in the sky in Ukraine right now are military aircraft. I could tell that it was not a military jet and it was a missile as it got closer, and I started to listen more to the nuance of the sound, since I've been in a lot of areas where I think fighter aircraft have been training or, you know, just doing patrols, just flying in the area. I don't know all the specifics behind it, but I've heard a lot of military aircraft, and I noticed it wasn't the case. And so I reacted and I took cover, and it was caught on stream. Now, because of the noise gate, you can actually not hear what I heard. But thankfully, I had somebody else in the building, a friend of mine who was in a different part of the house, and with a cell phone, he was able to record the audio of a missile passing very, very close over our building on stream. And so since the noise gate stopped you guys from hearing it, and I can't show you guys the footage because the footage would reveal our location, and obviously that's a security risk, we've taken the audio and we've laced it over the stream clip of me reacting so you guys can understand what I heard on my end. I think it makes it a lot easier, and since I can't share the footage anyway, I had to put it over something. So let me show you guys the clip. It's a very short clip, it's only 14 seconds, but to give you an idea of what I was reacting to, let's play this. Intervention in Mexico, and I don't want to put words in their mouth. Now, it was a lot louder in person even than how it showed here. As it got closer and closer, you can see me start to realize how close it is, because it flew directly over the house we are in. And so I did what I was told to do.
Tier 4 subscription. Do I get the eternal riches even if I die after my sub, or do I need to die while I am subbed?
Thank you for the tier 4 sub. Don't worry. It works a little bit like, Scientology here. You get the T4 sub and the tier 4 sub, and it's all your problems are solved forever, of course. Where was I? And what I've always been told to do is that if you know something's coming towards you, or if you know that something might come towards you or might hit in your area, the best thing you can do is make yourself as small of a target as possible. That's what I was told. So what I attempted to do here was get on the floor, and that's what I did. You guys think I run out of the room. I don't run out of the room. If you actually watch the clip again, you can see the chair move as I try to make myself as small as possible on the ground. Look, you can see the chair move once I leave, see? That's me getting on the floor, making myself as small as possible behind the desk where all my streaming equipment is. So if something happens, hopefully by me being a smaller target, nothing hits me. Thankfully, for me and for everybody else living in this area and living in this building, the missile passes over and it doesn't hit us. After this happened, me and my good friend met up. I ended stream for obvious reasons. Very sorry that I didn't get to finish the Mexico segment. I apologize. I will try to do it tonight so we can make up for it, as long as this doesn't happen again. I went up, I met with my friend, and I joined him in trying to record what was going on after like a minute or two of waiting. I still, the rest of the night I was crouching down. I was making myself very small because that's the closest a missile has gotten to me while I've been in Kiev. I've had shells land close to me and, you know, Mykolaiv, but never a missile that close. And the thing is with shells and artillery shells is you can't really hear it coming. There's no warning when the shell, you know, hits. It just hits. There's not, you get like maybe the split second of sound. But with the missile, there's a lot more sound as it comes closer and it comes to your position. So I was, you know, I used that moment to react, which I couldn't do when I was in Mykolaiv. I just got lucky in Mykolaiv that it didn't hit me when I was in the city center, and they just started randomly shelling everywhere at the start of the Kherson counteroffensive when the Russians were panicking because they were about to lose the only provincial capital they've captured for the whole war, the city of Kherson. So I go up there and I film. I can't show you any of the footage because, again, all of it is of the city, you know, getting bombed from a distance. And number one, it would reveal where we are, which obviously I can't do that. Now more than ever, I'm not willing to do that. And it could possibly reveal Ukrainian air defense, which for a lot of civilians here is the only thing standing between them and, you know, getting killed. And so I am not willing to do that. But I can at least play some audio of some explosions we recorded shortly after. 1 second. But like I can't, there's only so much material I can show you. Let me play this. I wish I could show you more. That particular explosion did make the building shake slightly, but thankfully there were no strikes very close to us. Sadly, and I am sad to say this does not mean that nobody was killed in the strikes. The missiles that did pass us kept going towards the city and ended up killing 3 people as they were trying to get into a bomb shelter which had been closed. While the missiles were shot down, the falling debris, and I talked about this in the big post that I made here, which was one of the reasons why I was worried, even if I knew that most likely the missile wasn't aimed at us. When these missiles get shot down, and the government more than anything wants to shoot them when they're not over the city, because that's where the most people are, they eventually have to fall somewhere. And even though, of course, it's safer to shoot down the missile because it's on a course for, you know, any number of locations where civilians are, that falling debris can still kill people. And it did end up killing people. It ended up killing 3 people. And ended up killing a 9-year-old girl, her 33-year-old mother as well, and a 33-year-old woman. The husband of the 33-year-old woman that was killed talked to a public broadcaster about the incident, talking about how they died when it comes to the bomb shelter being closed. Why, like, of course, everybody's kind of reacting to this. Why was the bomb shelter closed? Also, 14 people were injured. I do want to mention that since that's usually not mentioned. Here's what he said. People knocked. They knocked for a very long time. There were women, children. No one opened. My wife and child were there. The child is fine, but my wife is dead. I just ran to the other side, calling for them to open, and just at that moment, everything happened. At that moment, something flew. I don't know, fragments or something. The guy's name was Yaroslav. This has caused a lot of outrage as to why these people were not allowed into the bomb shelter. If they were allowed into the bomb shelter, they would have been alive. They would not be dead. That would have saved the lives of a 9-year-old girl and 2 women, including the girl's mother, and obviously some of the injured people as well. This has caused outrage amongst the Ukrainian public, and they're asking how this could have happened. An investigation has been launched. The government officials are even saying this is not a mistake, this is a crime. And Vitaly Klitschko, who is the mayor of Kiev, said that he's going to have policemen now patrol bomb shelters during nighttime air raids to make sure that they're all open. The person who is in charge of the area where this happened has also been removed from his position for the duration of while this investigation into how this occurred is also going on. So there is an investigation. There is some changes happening, but I can tell you, after visiting bomb shelters across this country, a lot of these bomb shelters are Soviet-age bomb shelters that are decrepit. They're not of the great condition. They're certainly not stocked to a capacity where they can support civilians for a long siege. Let's say, for example, the Russians, for whatever reason, decided tomorrow that they were just going to unleash everything they had on the city of Kiev, literally everything, like every missile, every S-300, even though they're not accurate, they're just going to fire it everything at the city. Could these bomb shelters support people for more than 24 hours, for like a week, maybe even 2 weeks, depending on how bad it gets? Which, while this is not a big fear in Kiev, because the idea that the Russians are going to literally waste everything they have in one big strike is, probably not going to happen. This is a real possibility for areas where the Russians might, conduct future offensives, or where the Ukrainians might conduct future offensives. When I was in the Mykolaiv Oblast, that was a major concern. And I visited some bomb shelters over there that were very decrepit and even had outdated, expired medical gear from the Soviet era, and very, very little equipment. And all of the people who were working at these bomb shelters seemed to be volunteers as well, as in military staff who had decided outside of their command they were going to go out of their way to go help at this bomb shelter when they didn't need to, but they did it because of how bad the situation is. So this is not just a Kiev issue. When we talk about the conditions of bomb shelters, I'm talking about the conditions of bomb shelters and how prepared they are. Not even the most basic rule, which is, make sure civilians can get into the fucking bomb shelter. But the issue with bomb shelters is a big issue all across the country, not only in Kiev. And I do want to bring attention to that. I also want to say that yesterday, while it being that close to me was an uncommon occurrence, bombing in Kiev is not an uncommon occurrence. When I posted this clip, I saw some people reacting to this saying that people of Kiev, they're not affected by the war. I saw a few people saying it, and I just want to quickly say, civilians have been dying in Kiev. Yesterday, of course, there were 3 civilians that died, but in the past few weeks, civilians have died from what has seemed like every night the Russians bombing the city. Every night we get air alerts, but also recently, every night those air alerts are actually followed by Russian bombing attacks, by Russian missile attacks, by Russian attacks on Kiev that are killing civilians. This is real. It is happening in Kiev, and it is a constant issue for the last few weeks. While before, during the earlier parts of spring, it was not as intense. Recently, the Russians have really ratcheted up the pace. Whether they can sustain this pace is another question, but recently, and I felt it, they've ratcheted up the pace, whether it's in response to the Patriot air defense systems being deployed and them defending Ukrainian airspace, whether it's in response to the incursion into Belgorod or any other number of incidents. Who knows? But the Russians have ratcheted up the pace recently. That's not to say that all of Ukraine is dealing with the same intensity of warfare. Certain sections of the country obviously are dealing with more intensity. Volodar, Kramatorsk, certain sections of Kherson, for example, are getting bombed. When I was embedded with the Kharkiv demining crews, I was there when emergency service workers working in Kherson, 6 of them who were working to demine civilian territory, were shelled by the Russians and killed. So this is, while it's not most concentrated in Kiev, Kiev is still affected. It's the capital of the country, it's a logistical hub, and it's also the biggest city in the nation. And so if the Russians want to terrify the population, if the Russians want to target the logistical hub, there's different reasons to target Kiev. But it seems as of recent, they have been very, very bad at actually hitting strategically important targets in Kiev, definitely as they've relied more and more on S-300 missiles, which are supposed to be used by the Russians for air defense, but have now been turned into just rockets to fire, kind of just lob at the city, even though they're inaccurate, they're going to miss, they're almost certainly not going to hit the exact target they're aiming for. They have been relying on those more and more as their more accurate missile stockpiles have fallen through. Meaning that going forward, we're probably going to see more and more of the Russians using these less accurate weapons that are even more likely to kill civilians. But of course, if the strategy is to terrorize the civilian population or to just use up Ukraine's air defense, then that doesn't really matter from the Russian strategic point of view, putting aside, of course, the humanitarian or war crime concerns. Moving on. I don't really know what else to say about this. Man, I don't really know what else to say about this. Getting bombed sucked. It was scary. Nobody should have to go through that. And the experience of what I'm going through is fundamentally, I want to emphasize that the experience that I'm going through and that I went through with this is, in my opinion, not even 1/10 of what Ukrainians are suffering through. Because I made the active decision to come here and interview Ukrainians, highlight, issues around Starlink and concentrate on my journalism here, concentrate on demining of civilian areas. I made that active decision. For many of the civilians here, they lived here the whole life. The cities that are getting bombed are their cities. The homes that are getting bombed are their permanent lifetime childhood homes. The people that are getting killed are their neighbors that they've lived with forever. And if you're a man, you can't even leave, even if you wanted to, because of conscription laws and restrictions on travel. It's loosened up a lot more recently, but obviously there's also a patriotic duty for many Ukrainians of, I don't want to leave and abandon my country. I want to stand here and stick with them through the end. So there's obviously much more trauma associated with them, and that's what I want to focus on. I don't want to focus on live streamer bombed, because I wasn't bombed anyway, like a missile passed over our house on stream. I want to focus on that this is just the smallest of snippets of what Ukrainians have to deal with every single day. And this isn't in a foreign land that they went to and are currently a guest in as they work in there and try to highlight the war. This is in their communities. I couldn't even imagine what it would feel like if this was in my home, in my neighborhood, knowing that my grandparents or my family members or my members of my community could have been the ones that have been killed here. Not to say that I don't care about the people who I'm living with here or about the people around here, but there's more of a lifelong personal attachment that the Ukrainians have to the surrounding countryside, to the very soil that they stand on, that I just cannot have. And so that's what I want to concentrate on. I want to concentrate on that suffering. I want to concentrate on, this is just the slightest snippet of the type of terror that they have to deal with on a near daily basis. Now, putting that all to the side, I do want to talk about this because this was a very strange interaction I had. So for those of you who don't know, during the background of this stream, there is a flag that resembles the Central Intelligence Agency flag, but it's not the Central Intelligence Agency flag. You can actually see it in this picture to the right here. But if you look, not even semi-closely, just if you look at it at all, you can see there's a little cartoon dog in it, and it's the Central Intelligence Agency flag. It's a joke flag. It's a meme. I didn't even put it up. Most of you guys probably know, if you've watched my stream long enough, that I prefer having an American flag in my background because I'm a red-blooded American, and I miss my home. He replaced the American flag because my friend said that he was sick of looking at it, and he replaced it with the meme flag. I think either to just make fun of me or because he just thought it was funny. And the main reason why he thought it was funny is because I'm constantly accused of being a CIA agent. Because, my last name is Burns, and the CIA director's last name is Burns. And so some people have tried to start the rumor that I'm the grandson of the CIA director. I agree that Ukraine should be able to defend itself, and therefore that's the quote-unquote CIA position. And so, I've been accused of being a CIA agent. So, I lean into the meme. But some people seem to have taken this a little too seriously, reacting to it like this. Dylan Burns is streaming from Ukraine with a fucking CIA flag proudly hanging behind him. Jesus Christ. Somebody responds, what's the chance of him presenting it to his audience as something ironic? So first off, I do just want to say, bombs head towards civilian population center, and your main concern is a meme flag in the background and not the bombs heading towards a city of 3.5 million people, the civilians at risk, and the people who died from this strike, including a 9-year-old girl. To me, that was the focus. That is what I mainly care about, and that's why I want to concentrate on this. But the only reason I'm mentioning this is to just quickly say, because I know probably people might bring this up in the future, It's a fake flag meant to like mock the idea that I'm in the CIA. The main focus everyone should have is on the disastrous impact this Russian bombing campaign, which has achieved nothing of strategic importance by them targeting Kiev, is have the impact that it's having on the civilian population and a type of fear and terror that this inspires in the civilian population on a near daily basis, especially as of recent, where I can see the psychological impacts of my friends not eating, of my friends not sleeping, of my friends being more jumpy than usual, right? People who love their community and doesn't want to see it bombed. And that's what the main focus should be. And if that's not the main focus you're having around this, then I feel like your priorities are out of whack and that you primarily care about aesthetics and not the actual impact that this type of terror campaign, which is what it is, a terror campaign, is having on the civilian population. Anyway, also, I will say that doesn't mean you can't laugh at my expense. Obviously, I don't want you guys laughing about the civilians that got killed or anything. But if you want to laugh at my expense, I am perfectly comfortable with that. Here is my editor laughing at my expense. Once he, I will tell you though, he did this once he found out it was okay. Here is a clip he posted saying, "Me when I hear the ice cream truck outside." Convention in Mexico. And I don't want to put words in their mouth. See, this is the type of stuff that's going to bully me off the internet, okay? This is the type of stuff that's going to bully me off the internet. By the way, this wasn't the only one he posted. He posted like a bunch. He posted a bunch. Where are the other ones he posted? POV Vosh outside your house in Mexico. And I don't want to put words in their mouth.
Wait, law? What are you, a fucking liberal? Jesus Christ! What? Law!
Dude, there was so many of these. What were the other ones? I think oh, here's another one. And I don't want to put words in their mouth. Okay, so if you want to laugh at my expense, okay, wait, what's this? In Mexico. And I don't want to put words in their mouth. I mean, this one's relatable. I mean, if you hear a conga line outside your house, you have to go out. I especially have to go out because I love TF2. But anyway, if you want to laugh at my expense, that's fine, okay? I deserve to get laughed at. It's very funny. But putting, of course, memes aside, this is a very important issue. The civilian population of this area is terrorized on a near daily basis, and this is the importance of air defense for this area. This is the importance of making sure that the bunkers that people rely on is safe, and this is also the importance of making sure that people know what to do when this type of stuff happens, to get down, to be safe, to go to the bomb shelters that will hopefully in the future, if these police patrols and the investigation actually amounts to something, will be open and ready to sustain, civilians that they're made for. Dude, I don't know what I'm supposed to say, right? When I became a streamer, I feel like I'm supposed to say something more here. I don't know why I feel like I'm supposed to say something more. I feel a little bit at a loss for words. Just, man, I don't know what else to say. I really am at a loss for words. I feel like I should be saying more, but I feel like I've said all that I can say, and everything that I want to express about the type of fear that this inspires, and my feelings around not only how I felt, but seeing, and this had more of an impact on me, honestly, how the people around me reacted to this. I don't feel like I am eloquent enough at expressing those feelings, immoral, and so morally corrupt, I'll leave that largely up to your interpretation. And for everybody else in the Kiev area or in Ukraine who has to deal with this, God, man, I'm so very fucking sorry this has happened to your country.